How's it going, everyone? Mac and I are back with episode 8 of Instant Replay. We want to apologize for taking last week off. Exams come first. School always comes first. And as you can see, we have a new setup today because of exams. But no, we're happy to be back. Last week was a tough week not doing a podcast. I know we have lots of stuff to talk about. But today's an exciting day because we have our first write-in topic from one of our viewers, a former teacher and coach of mine and a current mentor, Mr. Stephen Watson, who teaches at McGregor Public School, wrote in with the following question: Jamal Murray versus Andrew Wiggins as the next great Canadian baller. Please discuss on your next podcast. So, Mac, this is a pretty good problem to have for Canadian basketball. I mean, it's up and coming. We have a lot of good young stars. And yeah, it's an exciting time, but I'm going to quickly ask you, and then we're going to get into more detail. Jamal Murray or Andrew Wiggins, who do you see as the next big thing in college basketball? Sorry, not just college basketball, but Canadian basketball in general.
Let's see. Well, Andrew Wiggins went number 1 overall, so obviously there's the hype with that. Obviously he's a really skilled player, but I think it kind of depends on what team Jamal Murray might go to in the
Fair
draft.
Yep.
What situation it boils down into, because they're both really talented players.
Yep.
Just kind of depends what situation they're put in. It depends, if Minnesota gets a little better and stuff, and then he could have a supporting cast.
For sure.
He could definitely, for Wiggins, he could, take the reins and take that next step. But for now, it's a struggling team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think if you look at both of them, the one word that we're going to use is potential, right? I mean, Murray is only 18, Wiggins is only 20, so it's tough to know how they're going to play out as long-term players. But I mean, both kind of have taken very similar paths in terms of their collegiate career so far. I mean, Murray has a very small sample size, right? They've only played 10 games.
Yeah.
But if you want my honest opinion, I think that they were both or have both been misused in their collegiate level career. I mean, I'm a Kansas Jayhawks fan, so I loved watching Andrew Wiggins play for us. But until later in the year, he was he was maybe a second or third option on that offense. Now, mind you, he scored the most points in that year of any Kansas Jayhawk. But you also had Perry Ellis, Wayne Selden, who are now currently still with the team. But he kind of played a backseat role to those players. And I think you're kind of seeing the same thing with Murray in Kentucky. From what I've seen so far, obviously he does really, really well when he's got the ball, when he's given the opportunity. A lot of plays are run for their big man, Skal Labissiere, another highly touted freshman who they brought in from Haiti this year. But I think if you look at the similarities between the two, when their respective team had the most success was when the ball was in their hands. Wiggins dominated at Kansas. He wasn't as dominant as everyone thought he was going to be. Still played well enough to earn himself the number 1 overall pick, like you said. And then Murray, I think if you look at kind of the games they've played and how he's kind of taken over the game so far, this Kentucky team could be 8-2, 7-3 without him. I mean, they're 9-1 right now. Tough loss to UCLA a little while ago. But yeah, I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, so far Murray's averaging 15.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 3.1 assists per game, which are pretty solid numbers for a freshman coming in. So he's getting his opportunities for sure. I think Calipari is slowly starting to realize that he can be the focal point of this team. Right, I think that.
Yeah, it's tough for freshmen to come in and become the number 1 option right away.
Which is what you also saw with Wiggins.
You got to prove something.
Yeah,
right?
No, definitely. Yeah, so I think that, and then looking at the flip side, Andrew Wiggins, well, he's since leaving Kansas, where he did have a good 1-year career, he's blossomed in Minnesota. I mean, he's had an opportunity to be the guy. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. Minnesota is not anyone's pick to win an NBA championship. Many people thought they were going to contend for the first overall pick again this year. They're 13, or sorry,
they're a better team than they were.
Yeah, no, for sure. They're 9-13, so not Not a terrible record by any
They're
means.
not Philadelphia.
No. Well, no one's really Philadelphia. That's a bad team. I got to watch them
The
play the
Lakers.
Raptors.
The Lakers are
You did call that. You called Philadelphia getting their win against the Lakers. But I mean, Wiggins so far averaging 21 points a game, 3.6 rebounds, and 1.6 assists per game. So, I mean, I guess the next thing to talk about is kind of their potential, right? I mean, they have similar numbers. Wiggins averaged about 17 points in college. Murray's averaging 15 so far. So it's kind of about who has the opportunity to take that next step and be the guy. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure if...
I think it might come down to who's the more well-rounded player. Who can play better defense?
Yeah.
Who knows how to win?
Yeah.
One could question Wiggins playing in Minnesota right now.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to develop that problem where, he's on a bad team. He doesn't take, things aren't, really taken terribly seriously, so he doesn't become a well-rounded player early in his career. And then, also, you got the problem where you develop, a losing culture.
Yeah, for sure.
And some guys just don't know how to win. There's other guys that know how to win.
Sure. Yeah.
A Tim Duncan knows how to win.
Nope, definitely.
If, that's what I mean by Jamal Murray being put in the right situation.
For sure, definitely.
Imagine if the guy gets drafted by, San Antonio.
Yeah,
that would
be awesome. That would be great for his development, for sure.
No kidding.
I think that if you look at the mock draft so far, and anything we say is kind of, Ben Simmons is going to be the number 1 overall pick. Let's be honest. He's the best player in college basketball, plays for LSU. I mean, he's just dominant. So anything we say is after that, after the number 1 pick, who will probably end up being, if the lottery goes the right way, will be the 76ers again. They'll draft Simmons. But I think, and this is going to come as a surprise, right now, if the draft happened today, I would have no problem picking Jamal Murray with the 2nd overall draft pick. I think that he is the most developed player so far. He's the most NBA ready. He's very, very smart on the court. His shot hasn't come in Kentucky yet. He still hasn't really found it yet, and yet he's still averaging 15.5 points per game. I mean, the guy is just NBA ready, I feel like, right now. Now, maybe by the end of the year, you've got guys like Jaylen Brown and Brandon Ingram who are projected to go higher than him right now. Maybe they'll find it. You never know. But if the draft happened today, I would have no issue picking him with the 2nd overall pick. I think he's that NBA ready, that focused.
Who would get that pick? Lakers?
No, who would have it right now? I don't even know who would have it right now.
The Lakers, unless they traded that pick.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Jamal Murray to the Lakers?
Yeah, it would. It would. Need a replacement for Kobe. I don't know.
Jamal Murray, the next Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. But, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see because I think the difference between he and Wiggins right now, for me personally, Wiggins is a natural scorer. Yeah, he's not gonna give you much more than that though.
That's his number 1 thing, scoring. No doubt.
He will be. I think his cap is going to be a Carmelo Anthony like.
Yeah.
Lots of scoring.
Yeah.
Might give you 5 or 6 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 assists. That's his ultimate cap.
Yeah.
But Jamal Murray,
definitely.
I think his cap is higher than that. I think he has the ability to
do more.
Yes, for sure. He has the ability to be a natural scorer, but man, that guy can pass. It is unbelievable to watch him find teammates. I mean, if you look at Kentucky this year, they've really struggled. They run sort of 2 different set offenses from what I've seen. They run this 2-1-2 thing where they have 2 guards high. They try to set up Labissiere around the elbows, and then they have 2 guys playing the wings. And it just doesn't work. They try to play a lot of ball movement, get it inside, pass back outside maybe for an open 3. The ultimate goal would be to have Labissiere obviously take it down low. But that just doesn't really work for them. What works is when they get swooping guys handing the ball off, crisp passes, and then usually ends with the third guy, who's usually Murray, coming in, swooping into the basket, driving hard, either for an awesome layup or he finds an open teammate for a nice play there. So I mean, he has the ability to be not only a great scorer. Like I said, he hasn't found his shot yet, and he's still averaging 16 points per game. But he has the ability to be that next great passer. You know what I mean? So it's
like a John Wall.
Yeah, like a John Wall.
Obviously, nobody's as athletic as John Wall.
No, for sure. Yeah, I think that's one thing that Murray could work on. He's a big guy for a guard. I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5", weighs 210. Not the quickest, but still he's a grinder, right? Like he grinds out. He's getting better defensively. So the athleticism might be. It's there. The athleticism is there. As long as he can figure out a way to kind of grow into his body, which I think he's started to do. I think he could be the next great player for Canadian basketball. And I mean, we've seen the opportunity he gets, or the opportunity he runs with when he gets the chance to be a big star. I mean, look at the performance he put on at the Pan Am Games, right? I mean, that fourth quarter and that overtime against the United States, what more can you really say? I mean, he dominated that game. But it'll be really interesting to see, I think. And then if you look at also his prospects game, that's kind of where he figured out, or he was kind of noticed by everyone. No one really knew who he was. I mean, he was kind of an off-the-radar prospect, but then when he started dominating these prospect games, that's when people took note. And it was because he was given the opportunity to take over these games. So I don't know if you have any last comments. I'm going Jamal Murray. I think that he has a higher ceiling in terms of the future development. I mean, they're both going to be great players. Wiggins is going to be awesome, don't get me wrong. I just think that Murray might have more to offer. And we haven't even seen the best from him in Kentucky. He hasn't figured his shot out, and he's still playing out of his mind. He's still playing as the best player on that team, in my opinion, on a top 5 team in the United States. So, last comments?
Well, good Canadian boys.
Yeah.
Jury's still out for me, but
yeah, I mean, like we said,
it remains to be seen.
Yeah. It's a nice problem to have. You know what I mean?
If we're talking Canadian basketball, like Olympics, let's go.
I mean,
ideally, bring on U.S. for the gold medal.
Think about this lineup: Corey Joseph, Jamal Murray, Andrew Wiggins, Kelly Olynyk, Tristan Thompson. That's a pretty solid lineup. Not to mention, you got guys coming off the bench who are playing in the NBA.
The thing is, they're all young guys, and they're getting better.
Yeah. It's not like before when it was Steve Nash and...
Oh, Steve Nash didn't even play for the Canadian team.
No, not really. I mean, he had that one Olympics. But other than that, it was just like...
who else?
Yeah.
Who else?
It was a team of nobody. So it's an awesome time for Canadian basketball for sure. You're still undecided. I have Jamal Murray being the next big thing in Canadian basketball. But like we said, it's an exciting time. Make sure you stay tuned to that. It's going to be really interesting to watch. For those of you who want to see more, Jamal Murray, TSN is broadcasting all Kentucky games throughout this season, so make sure you check him out there. It's an exciting team to watch, and to be honest, he makes it exciting. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Anything else? Last comments? Nope, we're good. All right, we're going to move on to some more college sports, I guess. We're done talking, about Kentucky. Heisman Trophy was given out Saturday night to Derrick Henry of the University of Alabama. My boys.
Must have been exciting.
Yeah, it was. As an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, I've gotten the opportunity to see what he's done this year, and he is an animal. Like, there's no other word to describe it. He's just a beast. I have some stats for you here. So since the Alabama Crimson Tide lost to Ole Miss, that was early in the season. That was Game 3. So just listen to these numbers. 52, 148, 95, 236, 143, 210, 204, 68, 271, 189. Those are the yards per game that Derrick Henry ran for. And the one with 52 was against Louisiana Monroe, where he only carried 13 times in a blowout win. The other low number, 68, he only carried 9 times against Charleston Southern. So after that loss to Ole Miss, he kind of took over college football. The guy is arguably the best pro prospect, in my opinion, right now. If you look at just his physical stature, the guy is 6'3", weighs 240, and can compete speed-wise with any running back in the nation. You just can't handle something like that. Without him, the Crimson Tide would not be anywhere near where they are right now. Not to mention, he's also got a touchdown in every single game they've played this year. At least one. So really an unsurprising selection for me. I've said it since he outperformed Leonard Fournette in the LSU game. The Heisman was his to lose, and you know what? He ran with it. Really, there's no other... there's no one else that was going to challenge him based on the way he played since that Ole Miss loss. So again, from myself, it was awesome as an Alabama fan to see him win. Second ever Alabama winner. Mark Ingram was the other one, another running back. It'll be interesting. I think that right now, if you look at kind of where the scouts have him ranked, I think he's going to declare for the NFL draft. I think you're going to see Ezekiel Elliott maybe drafted before him. And then obviously Leonard Fournette is not eligible to enter the draft this year. But I think that scouts seem to like him more. I don't actually. I think Henry is the best back in college football, without a question. Mac, I don't know if you have any comments on it at all.
Well, okay. Unbiased opinion.
Fair enough, yeah.
Unbiased opinion. As much as I, don't care too much for Alabama or the SEC in general, well deserved.
Yeah.
That's how you can put it. Well deserved.
Yeah.
Not like you said, not overly surprised.
Yeah.
He played like a Heisman winner. And
For sure.
Won the Heisman.
Yep. I think if you you brought up the SEC, those are some of the toughest defenses in the nation.
Yeah,
right?
every year.
And he still ran them all over.
It's the best conference in America every year.
Yeah, I think.
Well, not every year, but most.
Most years, yeah. I think if you look at what the SEC does, they just beat each other up, right? And Henry managed to get through that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he can pull it off in the college football playoff against the tough defense of Michigan State. And that is a perfect segue to our next topic, the college football playoff. Top 4 teams this year: Clemson, Alabama, Michigan State, and Oklahoma. I know we're a while away. New Year's Eve is when the games are going to take place. Clemson's playing Oklahoma. Alabama's playing Michigan State. Mac, any thoughts on that right off the start? I know we have time to analyze it, but if you had to give your quick predictions, what are you thinking?
Okay, so the matchups are Clemson, Oklahoma, and Alabama,
Michigan State. Yeah. It's tough to know at this point, right? There's so much that can happen.
It's tough, but I'd have to see Clemson going through Oklahoma.
Interesting, yeah.
And I think Alabama's made the big favorite over Michigan State, but Michigan State they have this way of being able to
just grind through games.
Yeah, grind through and beat teams that maybe on paper are better than them. They beat Ohio State.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, so you got, so what do you think?
Iowa as well.
Yeah, Iowa as well.
That was a tough game.
That was a tough game. If you like
They've
defense, go back and rewatch that game.
They've had some tough games.
Yeah, for sure.
So
You got Clemson and you got
I mean Alabama is also battle tested,
yeah,
but there's just some intangible about Michigan State
right,
that I like.
for sure. And
I mean,
as a Michigan fan, you get to see
as much as it pisses me off, like Michigan State's got this intangible. Like
yeah,
they probably shouldn't have won the game against Michigan, but like somehow they did.
probably they had no business winning that game at all. But man, that must have been a tough one for you.
Yeah, well, we got a good game against
Yeah.
Florida. I'm decently happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see Clemson, Michigan State.
Early final prediction.
That's my early final prediction.
Interesting. Myself on the other side, I have the complete opposite of that. I've got Alabama beating Michigan State. Interesting note about that game. I think the bookies have made it really interesting because if you look at all the bowl games and all their projected scores, so their betting lines, Alabama is the second biggest favorite out of all the bowl games.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake.
Which is interesting for the second place team in the nation going up against the third place team. Last time I checked, it was 9.5. The only one that's higher is Arkansas over Kansas State in the Liberty Bowl at like 11 points. So I think it'll be tough for Alabama to cover that. They might do it on like a late touchdown, trying to close out the game. Henry might just do what he did in a number of games this year, get you an 8-minute drive late in the fourth quarter to close it out that finishes it off with a 10-yard touchdown, 5-yard touchdown. But yeah, I think Alabama is going to get through. I think Michigan State, their key to victory is going to be defense has to keep them in it. I mean, the defense is like Alabama, their pride and joy. They're going to need to take advantage of Alabama over the top. They're going to need to throw some deep balls. That's where Alabama's had some problems this year. And then third, just pray that Alabama beats themselves. Because I mean, they're playing like the best team in college football right now, to be honest. And I think it's going to take a little bit of luck in order to beat them, to be completely honest. So those are Michigan State's key to victories. I still see Alabama getting through on the back of Henry and that dominant defense. And on the other side, I got Oklahoma beating Clemson. To be completely honest, Oklahoma's playing as the next best team in college football right now. Tough end of the season. They'll have a nice break before going into the New Year's Eve bowl showdown with Clemson. Baker Mayfield has played like an all-star. Could have been a Heisman candidate. For a while there, people actually thought he might win the award. Clemson's going to be tough. They got that dual threat. They can run it with Sean Watson. He's also a great passer. They run this option that it's really, really tough to stop. So I think that it's going to be a high-scoring game. Oklahoma's defense is good. It's not great. And Clemson can put up points, right? So I think you're going to see a really high-scoring game. But yeah, I got Oklahoma coming out on top. I think they're just going to be able to put more drives together on the Clemson defense than the Clemson offense is going to be able to put on the Oklahoma defense. And then in the final, I got Alabama beating Oklahoma. I think that's ultimately going to be the best game of the year. I don't think it'll be as close as people think. My early scoreline prediction has been 31-17, maybe with another late touchdown, so it'll be closer than the scoreline indicates. But I think Alabama is going to take home the college football championship this year. Mac, any last thoughts?
Nope.
Well, we disagree on that one. He's got Michigan State and Clemson going through the national championship. I got Alabama and Oklahoma. Anyways, it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure this is not the last time we're going to discuss this with the playoff coming up on New Year's Eve. But that's it for us on this episode. We're going to do a double dose today. We're going to do another episode right after this. We don't want to make them too long. We're trying to cut down the amount of time each episode is. We're going to do multiple short ones rather than one big long one. So take a look for episode 9 coming up next. Hope you enjoyed this one. Talked about basketball, football. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching.